In this film, we're going to look at the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem based on one country and rest of the world. So we make the assumption that we have a small country, which we call S for small, and we have the production and consumption of a capital-intense good, which we have on the horizontal axis, and we have a labor-intense good, which we have on the vertical axis. The country S, we make the assumption that it's a little small, rich country, so they will be capital abundant, and therefore they will have the possibility to produce relatively rather much of the capital-intense good, like that. The consumption will be shown by the utility CIC, the community indifference curve, and in autarky, no trade whatsoever, then we want to have as high utility as possible, of course, and we're going to see that this will be achieved when we have a tangency between the production possibilities frontier and the CIC. So we'll have the same slope on these two. And we see that it's impossible to achieve a higher utility than we actually do with this one. So what we have in autarky is that the marginal rate of transformation, that's the slope of the PPF, will be identical to the marginal rate of substitution, the slope of the utility function. And that will give us the relative price in this country. So we will have the relative price Px divided by Py, which is given to us by the slope of this straight line there. If we then open up for international trade, and we realize that the relative price on the world market, which will be much steeper than we have in our own country, then we realize that we're going to change our production from towards the good that we are relatively good at, that we have some kind of comparative advantage in. So we're going to increase the production of the capital-intense good, and therefore we must reduce the production of the labor-intense good because we don't have resources enough to produce more than this. So the production will be that quantity of the capital-intense good and that quantity of the labor-intense good, which we see is much less than we had originally. We also see that this is the relative price that is valid on the world market, and therefore our consumers in our country will also face this relative price. So they will adapt to this relative price, and therefore we're going to look at the utility curve that is tangent to this straight line here, which we can call the consumption possibilities frontier. And we see here that in this situation we have a tangency between the consumption possibilities frontier and the highest possible available utility function. So we're going to consume much more of the labor-intense good up to that quantity, and we're going to consume a little bit less than originally of the X good. And to be able to do this, we have to import, since we produce we consume much more than we produce of the Y good. We have to import the difference, therefore. And to pay for that import, we have to generate some kind of income. So we have to sell. In this case, the only way we can create that income is to sell the capital-intense good. So we see that we produce more of the capital-intense good than we consume. So the export of consumption, the export of the X good will be that much, and that is enough to pay for that large import of the Y good. So we see here now is that when we look at it finally, we see that the marginal rate of transformation in the country S, it's given by this black dot down here, will be equal to the marginal rate of substitution, which is the slope of the utility function, which we have in this black dot, and that will also be identical to the relative price that we have in the world market.